You're listening to PhinManiacs Xtra, strictly Finn's talk, hosted by the king of hot takes himself, Ron Canniff.
All right, what's going on, Dolphins fans? As promised, well, we didn't really tease this for like months on end, like some people, the Fourth and Inches guys, telling us about it for a month, 2 months, and then they tease it, and then it doesn't come out on time. Anyway, so it's PhinManiacs Xtra. I'm here. How's it going, Lewis?
I'm doing good, Ron, and once again, thanks for coming on and doing this, man. I'm really looking forward to the content that's going to be coming out of this show, and while I wouldn't say we've teased it for months, I have been talking about it briefly on PhinManiacs Live, and also just talking about it a little bit on Twitter and announcing it on stuff, but it wasn't a huge deal. I wasn't tweeting it every other tweet. Like we love Vero and those guys. No, don't get us wrong, but we gotta rib them a little bit,
Yeah, of course. It'd be a friendly rivalry. It'd be two completely different shows for sure. And obviously I bring that up because previously I did the Finns broadcast, me and Vero. It worked very well. My life changed. I ran completely out of time to be able to do stuff. He wanted to do some stuff, so he moved on with those guys, and that's awesome. I'm happy for them. I listen to that show regularly. They talk about the Dolphins for 5 minutes, and then they talk about do they sit on the toilet sans toilet paper, but they use a different expression for it, which we won't mention on this show. We'll keep this show family friendly. What do you say?
We are PG, and I am very appreciative of that.
So we're gonna keep this show pretty much PG. Keep the cursing at a minimum.
I will say this. What is Vero thinking with ketchup on steak? That's just not right.
I don't think that's Vero. I think it's Mike.
Okay,
Mike
either way, man. It's still bad.
Yeah.
Like, ketchup on steak.
Yeah,
blasphemous.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. So, to kind of give you a little bit of the platform of the show, obviously you do PhinManiacs Live. I've done it with you several times. It's more of a longer platform. We bring on 3-4 people, 5 more, take calls. It probably goes an hour to an hour and a half and sometimes longer.
Oh, yeah, our last show did 2 hours when we talked to Troy Drayton, and he got some good stuff. And that's where we're going to have most of our guests, and of course we'll get the opportunity still to give our callers a chance to give their 2 cents. PhinManiacs Live isn't going anywhere, but this is more of a quicker morning commute show.
Yeah, and then this show, exactly, it's going to be more just kind of trying to keep it around 30 minutes or so. Quicker platform, more episodes, looking to kick out 2 a week, more if I can get time, and if the content drives it, if there's enough to talk about. We're getting into the slowest season of all, obviously, but there's still so much to talk about that I could still do 2 shows a week, not a problem. And it'll be me mostly. Sometimes you'll be on, sometimes a few other guests will be on, but it's mostly me doing the solo thing. Obviously, a lot of you guys know I was the original Locked On Dolphins guy. And Travis, he's doing a killer job with that show. He's doing fantastic. He's got the website. And he does a lot of analysis, a lot of film review, a lot of technical review. And I'm never going to be that guy. I'm always going to be more of a commentary rather than an analyst. So consider this as 30 minutes of Dolphins commentary from yours truly. I was one of the first podcasters doing this when I had Unsquish the Fish several years ago. It was like me, Lewis, I think you had your show at the time. And there was
the Fish is where we got started, brother.
Yeah, and there was like Finsiders, and that was literally it. Now there's probably 20 Dolphin shows. I mean, there really is. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to have all the content. Some of them are good, some of them are not good, but there's probably 20 shows out there. So going to throw my hat in the ring again for just yet again one more Dolphin show.
I think let's hopefully this one sticks around.
Oh yeah, for sure. It'll stick around as long as it sticks around, like every other show. You know what I mean?
Yep.
All right. So in the interest of how I like to do things, enough chit chat about the show itself. Let's talk about some Dolphins. What do you say?
I say let's go for it. There's plenty to talk about for sure.
All right. Obviously, it's a little late on this because I'm coming out with this show. How long ago was the draft? 3 weeks?
It feels like it. Yeah.
So but let's talk some draft. You ready?
All right, let's go. Talking draft again. Let's go.
All right, your opinion on the first pick.
All righty, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Okay, Minkah Fitzpatrick was the pick that I wanted all along. He was the dream pick. He was the one that I figured, okay, if we can get our hands on him, then the defense suddenly becomes that much more versatile, because I think of it like this. New England Patriots for a long time ran 3 safety sets, right? They did that. They were one of the best teams to do it, and I think to myself, well, if we get Minkah Fitzpatrick, then we can do the same thing. And a lot of people get mad when we try to compare the Dolphins to the Patriots, and I'm thinking to myself, why? Don't we want to be the Patriots? Don't we want to be the winners all the time? Don't we want to be able to do the things that they do? Well, now we can. Let's run the 3 safety sets. Let's run the big nickel. Let's be able to take a linebacker off of the field and put a safety in there. TJ McDonald's, like a lot of people are saying that TJ McDonald can't do the whole quote-unquote linebacker role. And I don't know, maybe by position name, he can't be a linebacker, but who says he can't be a big safety? He's a hard-hitting safety. He loves to go in the box and smash people into the ground. And technically speaking, he's already bigger than Jerome Baker is, so I don't see where the issue lies with whole TJ McDonald's playing linebacker-ish role. So by getting Fitzpatrick, the Miami Dolphins have made it so that now they have the chance to have a versatile defense. You don't really know who's going to do what. Fitzpatrick can play safety. He can play corner. He can do pretty much anything you want him to do. He can make it happen. And given the story that he has, the background that he has, and who he was coached under with Nick Saban, and I know we all have still bitter feelings about him, but that's another story. The fact of the matter is that this kid knows what it means to be great. I love the quote that he gave on Friday, just that there is no extraordinary without extra, and that is the thing that is most telling to me. This kid is going to work hard. He's not going to have to be coaxed to work hard. It's practically encoded into his DNA. He is not going to be the guy who's caught off guard because he wasn't paying attention. He's not going to be the guy who doesn't know the playbook. He is the perfect Adam Gase draft prospect, and I'm really excited to see what he can do for Miami.
Definitely. In the interest of full disclosure, as you know, I am an Alabama fan. I know that being a Bama fan and a Dolphins fan it's a tough road because of what Saban did. So, like when I would go and I'd see the Nick Saban practice bubble, it would actually make my skin crawl. It would actually make me. Is it even still called that, Lewis, or did they finally change the name?
They just call it the bubble. I mean, I've gotten over the whole Nick Saban thing. How long ago was that?
I don't care. He totally. Every decision made, including the whole, whether it was his fault or not, Breeze versus Culpepper situation, it just never ended. It was just, the way he left, everything was really bad. But as a Bama fan, and I was a Bama fan well before Saban was there, and when we were really crappy, under the believe it or not, under the Shula days. So there's that connection there too. It was like a catch-22. I was happy that he went to Bama, upset the way he left us, but be that as it may, I watch a lot of Bama football. If I watch anything else in college, I watch Bama. You remember when Kenyon Drake was in the draft and how I said, Kenyon Drake's the perfect guy for the Dolphins and blah, blah, blah. We should really draft this guy. You know, obviously it's not because I'm a college expert and I know what the Dolphins are doing. A lot of that's just biased. I'm biased towards a lot of the Bama players. Fitzpatrick is another one I really wanted, but man, you didn't have to be a Bama fan to want this guy. I mean, this guy is incredible. Just an absolute dime. I mean, a top 5, maybe top 4 talent in this draft, and he fell to us at 11. And I didn't really think he would. I kind of had my mind and my heart set on Roquan Smith. I thought Smith would be there and Fitzpatrick would not be. That's kind of the way I had it in my mind. But it really worked out. I like all the versatility that Fitzpatrick gives us. I like the versatility of having 3 safeties. I like the fact that Fitzpatrick can play that nickel cornerback for us. McCain, I mean, he had a decent year last year, but he could still be up and down. Fitzpatrick, believe it or not, what people think, he is not an outside cornerback type guy. He only played 4% of his snaps last year on the outside, and he didn't play those 4% all that fantastically. He's not that guy, but he sure as heck is a safety. He sure as heck can go down and defend the run. He sure as heck can play against tight ends. He sure as heck can go against running backs coming out of the backfield. He sure as heck can match up against slot wide receivers. He can do all of those things. He's probably the most, already as he walks onto the field, the most versatile defensive player we have on the team right now. I would stretch my imagination to find a more versatile guy on our defense as it sits. Can you think of anybody, Lewis?
I would have said Michael Thomas, but I would have to have the proviso, and I know that Michael Thomas is gone now, but that's besides the point. I would have said Michael Thomas, but I would have to have the proviso that says that it's versatile and doing versatile well, because with all due respect to Michael Thomas, I love the guy and I hope he does well, but he was versatile, but he wasn't exactly necessarily good at everything he did. So that automatically makes Fitzpatrick, the most versatile guy, like, by far.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what we'll be able to do with him, with McDonald. And again, McDonald not having a full year. I know that people were obviously McDonald probably isn't going to be what we hoped he'd be, but we don't know that. The guy had to sit on the sideline for 9 weeks last year. 9 weeks, mind you. He had to, because the first week we didn't play, and then 8 more games. So it was a long time that he had to sit there just waiting to play. Obviously, he wasn't going to instantly have the impact and be in mid-season form like all the other players were. So that's what you were seeing. You were seeing a guy who was in Game 1 form playing amongst a bunch of guys that were in mid-season form.
And he was out of position, because let's not forget, this is the problem with T.J. McDonald and Rashad Jones, is that they are both built to be box safeties. They're not free safeties. They're not center field roamers. They are not the guy who's going to be able to just watch and wait and see what happens. Rashad and TJ both like to attack. Yeah. They need somebody who can watch and wait, and that's Fitzpatrick. Well,
and I'm very excited about the prospects of what Fitz can do for our defense. I'm very excited about the prospects of our defense in general, and I think I'll discuss that in a future show. We'll get into that deeper because there's so much to talk about. We could go on forever with just that subject. But that's how I am on Fitz. That's where I lie. I'm very happy with the pick. I think most Dolphins fans are extremely happy with the pick. I'd say most quote-unquote analysts believe it was a strong pick, regardless of whether they felt we should have tried to move up for quarterback or not, and we'll discuss that a little later.
So yes, we will.
Let's go. Let's move on to Gesicki, get sexy as people are calling him. What's your thoughts on that pick? Because I think I remember kind of mentioning him once or twice when we were doing a PhinManiacs live show a few weeks before the draft. Not that I had intimate knowledge of him, just kind of looking at the tight ends and thinking, man, but it'd be exciting to have a pass catching tight end like that. I mean, that guy's just athletic. That's pretty much what I knew about him. So it was pretty cool that we ended up drafting him. What do you feel about that pick?
He blocked me. It's like,
well, that's probably the best block he's ever made, then, Lewis.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like
and now that I said that, he'll probably block me. Just kidding, Mike. Just kidding.
Oh yeah, exactly. No. Okay. For all kidding aside, Gesicki, when I did the film review on him, and I put it up on PhinManiacs, I saw that he had a lot of potential as a pure pass catcher. I got that. I never wanted to say that Gesicki is not a good player. The only thing that I said, and I stand by this, is that Gesicki is a rotten blocker. He cannot block. Do not ask him to. It will not work. He needs help if he's going to do any kind of blocking. Then the blocks that I did see on the film, it wasn't pretty, man. I'm serious. I keep saying this, and I stand by this as well. There was one play that I watched, and it looked like he literally just laid down and died in front of the defender, and he stepped over him and basically continued on his path like Gesicki was never there. He basically said, "Get out of my way, boy. You bother me." And that was the thing that bugged me about Gesicki the most, is that he can't block. However, I will say this. After speaking with Troy Drayton on PhinManiacs Live on the last show, he basically pointed this out, and I can't argue with what he said. How many Hall of Fame tight ends do you know who were known for blocking? Can you think of anyone?
I mean, Gronkowski is a really good blocker. I mean, Gronkowski is a freak among freaks, even when you consider the freaks of the tight end position over the years. Well, he's probably the best one to ever take the field. I know that's probably going to piss a few people off, but he really is, as far as an athletic freak. But he's a good blocker. Besides him, I don't remember Gonzalez being one. I know that Graham's not really a great blocker. So.
And that was kind of the point that Troy was making, is that tight ends nowadays, blocking isn't as important as it used to be. It's not that it's not important. You still have to be able to do a little bit of everything, but most tight ends that make their mark in the NFL do it as pass catchers. You have Jimmy Graham. You have Tony Gonzalez. You mentioned Gronk, but even if Gronk is an okay blocker, Gronk is not known for blocking. Nobody looks at Gronk and says, "Man, did you see that block that he put on that guy?" No, they're talking about Gronk catch, Gronk run, Gronk spike. That's what they're talking about. It's like they're not talking about his blocking prowess. They're talking about the catches he's made. And when you take that into consideration, I never said that Gesicki couldn't contribute. I think that he's going to be one of the best pass catchers that we've had in a long time. I think he's going to be one of the best tight ends we've had in a long time. And if all goes well, he'll be the best seam threat that Tannehill has had since Charles Clay left, because we kept trying with veteran guys. We tried with Jordan Cameron. That didn't work. It blew up in our faces. We tried Julius Thomas. That didn't work.
That guy was a freaking slug, man.
He was awful. He was absolutely
He was
awful.
so bad. I have never been more disappointed, excited about a guy coming to the team, and then disappointed in the performance. And I mean, you could see it from day one. I'm like, what's with this guy? He's horrible. Peyton Manning just made him look really good.
Maybe you know what? Maybe, I'm not so sure that it's necessarily just Peyton. I would think that for John Fox and Adam Gase to keep Julius Thomas on the field in Denver, there would still have to be something there for him as an individual player. Otherwise, they could have just replaced him. I mean, it couldn't have been hard to replace Julius Thomas with somebody else if he was really that awful in Denver, and if it was just Peyton Manning. Like, but logically speaking, if Thomas is just that bad and Peyton's making him look good, well, why don't you throw somebody else in there and maybe they can look even better together? This is my thinking. I'm thinking, and this is why I think Julius Thomas is gone. Because remember, Adam Gase loves his guys. He went and got Brock Osweiler to compete for the backup spot. David Fales is somebody that he's worked with. He worked with C.J. Anderson, and there was interest there before he signed on with the Panthers.
There's been interest there two different seasons now. Remember, right. we actually had him pretty much traded for, done, and Denver decided to go ahead and go crazy and match that.
Right. So the Gase loves his guys. He went and brought back Jay Cutler. He was familiar with him. And, of course, Julius Thomas. But here's the thing. Gase did not keep Thomas. Gase recognized, okay, this isn't going to work. And he cut him. It was, you're out. So Gase is not so into his guys that he will keep them above all costs. He will get rid of them if necessary. Because Thomas had one more year on that contract. They could have kept him around if Gase really wanted him. But
yeah, I don't think anybody believed that was going to happen.
No, I didn't believe it. Nobody believed it anyway. But the thing is that if Gase was really that into his guys, he wouldn't have dumped Thomas. Gase is not so biased by his people that he's going to keep them even if they're actually a problem. He's going to look at the tape and say, okay, Thomas is not doing what he's supposed to do. Sorry, buddy, you're out. And that's the part that I'm okay with. That's what I appreciate. So
I'm excited, moving back to Gesicki. I'm excited about the possibilities with this guy. Now, I am a believer, and I have yet to get anybody to agree with me on this, and I really don't know why. And I'm sorry that I couldn't make it on the show with you and Troy, because I really wanted to ask him this question. Tight end is one of the most difficult positions to learn coming from college to the NFL. It absolutely is. But I think the advantage of Gesicki is it's going to allow us to just take him, line him up, and not like a wide receiver, but an out wide tight end, and just go use his athleticism, use his pass catching ability, and go make some plays. We'll be able to use him like that early, as opposed to when we move on here in a bit to Smythe. I think that's going to be an adjustment. I don't know if he just comes right in and he's like the guy, but I mean, Tannehill's never had a tight end like Gesicki, at least that ability and that talent. Never even close. I don't know that the Dolphins really have had. I mean, we've had some good tight ends over the time, but I mean, this guy's just an athletic freak of nature. He really is. And in my mind, if he doesn't do well, I'm gonna blame the Dolphins over Gesicki. That's my opinion. The guy's just way too talented and too athletically gifted to not be able to find a way to use his talents.
And that's kind of it's actually kind of funny because you mentioned that you wish you had asked the question. Well, we actually asked Troy the question of whether or not Gesicki will be able to just jump in and start doing things right away. And from what Troy told us, basically it's going to take a few weeks for things to really click for both Gesicki and Smythe. But after that, it's going to be like, okay, now we get it. And and we actually also asked him, which is harder to learn? Is it harder to teach a pass catching tight end to block, or is it harder to teach a blocking tight end to catch? And he didn't lean one way or the other. It really boils down to just you kind of have to you just got to teach them. I don't think one way or the other is harder. It depending on your skill set, you can't really compare the two. If you're a pass catching tight end, it's going to be harder for you to block than it is for you to catch passes, obviously, and of course vice versa for the blocking ones. Regardless of what it is you're trying to learn, it's still going to be difficult. There's no way to say it's going to be harder to do this or that. So I guess in that regard, we can expect both Smythe and Gesicki to have a few struggles in their prospective weak points. Although, if I'm going to give my personal opinion, I think that Gesicki's going to have a harder time learning how to block than Smythe is going to learn running routes, because he already did that a little bit at Notre Dame. It's not like he's never done it before. So, and he did make a few catches. So I think that Smythe already has some basics, and it's not like Gesicki doesn't have any basics on blocking. He's just really not good at it. So I would expect more of Gesicki to make more of a flashy play, but I would expect Smythe to be something of a solid role player.
All right, so just skipping over Jerome Baker for a moment and going to Smythe because we're on the tight end situation. I understand that he was more of a blocking tight end in college. Being a blocking tight end in college and learning the blocking schemes in college versus being a blocking tight end and learning the blocking schemes in the NFL is absolutely not even close to the same. And I'm just going to state right now, I think Smythe is going to take some time to get going. He just is. And I think that as they come through the mini camps, the preseason, I would be very surprised that you see the Dolphins, and especially Gase, because he's hesitant a lot of times with these rookies. He really has been. When they're first, second round guys, maybe. But once you get beyond that, man, he's really slow to put too much on rookies' plates. He has been that way since he's been here. I mean, even some of his favorite guys that he's so excited about, like Jakeem Grant, you know how bad he was just dying to get Grant out on the field. In that first year, man, what did he see, like 2 or 3 offensive plays the entire rookie year? And he was just running back kickoffs? I mean,
pretty
it was
much.
Exactly. And you know he was just chomping at the bits to get him out there. Gase does not just throw rookies out there, especially 4th round rookies. Tight end, asking to do all the things that a blocking tight end in the NFL will do, and think that he's just going to have him out there playing 30 snaps a game. I will beg to differ on that. It will take a while for Smythe and for Gase to get that trust, unless this guy just comes out and kills it right away. But I think it's going to be a struggle, honestly. I think that's going to be a struggle at first. And I could see us keeping 4 tight ends on this roster, but that's something we'll discuss in a little bit. All right, let's go on to Jerome Baker. What do you think of the Jerome Baker pick, besides his name Jerome Baker being something that probably many people have used to name their bong? Come on, I had to throw something like that in there.
All right.
I only mentioned that because my brother-in-law said that was the name of his bong back in the day, Jerome Baker. And he thought it was so funny that the Dolphins drafted a guy named Jerome Baker, and that was his bong name. Okay. All right, I've said enough about that. Let's talk about football.
Okay. Okay, so Jerome Baker. I'm not upset about it. I just don't know what to expect from him, because
that sounds like a staunch endorsement. I'm not upset about it.
I mean, because you got to understand, man, I don't really know much about him. Like, I've had so many mixed opinions heard about him. I've heard people say that he's not instinctual. I've heard people say he is instinctual. I have heard people say that he's not a very good tackler. And then I've heard people say that he's a solid tackler. What are you talking about? And so with all of that in mind, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I don't know what to expect. So this is when I start to just go through the list of people that I know I can trust and I know who are solid evaluators. Think of Brandon Howard for one, and he really likes what he sees in Jerome Baker. I'm like, okay, so maybe there's something here after all. What he is for sure, Baker, he is fast, he is athletic, and supposedly he is a coverage linebacker.
And kind of small.
And kind of small. But again, you know what? Roquan Smith, I don't think he's that much bigger. And that everybody loves Roquan Smith. Everybody thought Roquan Smith was incredible, that he was the best linebacker in the draft, and nobody was talking about how undersized he was. He just had that incredible amount of instinct, and the Bears were willing to get him at, I think it was pick number 8. So if size was the issue with Jerome Baker, then why was there no red flags for Roquan Smith? If size is an issue, if size is a legitimate issue, then it shouldn't matter how instinctual, how fast, how whatever. If they think you're too small to play linebacker, it should be a red flag. But nobody was talking about how small Roquan Smith was. So I'm kind of not really that worried about Jerome Baker's size. It's everything else that I have to look at.
Okay. I don't know much about Jerome Baker. I didn't get to watch him play in college that I recall that much.
Oh, I do know one thing. Also, he is good friends with Raekwon McMillan, and McMillan actually gave him a ringing endorsement. So now they're going to get to play together again.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. It's almost like we'll have 2 rookies too at linebacker because McMillan didn't get to play one snap. He played one special team snap in preseason, and that was it. His season was over.
It. It tore the ACL.
I know.
You think Ace is gonna stop him from playing? Like he's gonna be like Raekwon? No, not this time. You stay over here. We're not putting you on special teams.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We lost some special teams, so we'll see. It's gonna be interesting to see who steps up at special teams. I think it'll be a big deciding factor on who's at the bottom of that draft, like those last 5-6 guys coming out of the cornerbacks, the linebackers, the wide receivers, maybe even the tight ends, and how many we keep of each, running backs, how many we keep of each of all these guys. But story for another show. I know that I wanted to leave this draft with a tight end. I should say this draft. I should say the first 3 rounds. I was hoping that when Friday night wrapped up, we would have a linebacker, a tight end, and a defensive tackle and or Fitzpatrick. So meaning I was willing to give up the defensive tackle if we got Fitzpatrick, because I was kind of thinking, well, we get Raekwon Smith, and then we get a tight end like maybe Gesicki, and then we grab a defensive tackle in the 3rd round. So obviously we didn't end up getting the defensive tackle, but we got Minkah Fitzpatrick, which to me is way better. And then I said, well, you can just go plug the defensive tackle spot with like a vet, because we have some young talent there, so we didn't need to go and we had to draft a defensive tackle. But I know we have needed to infuse this linebacker core with talent. I mean, 2 positions we've just pretty much ignored for half a decade or more is tight end and linebacker. And we drafted 2 of each in this draft. So obviously the Dolphins recognized it was time to get an infusion of youth and talent in those positions. And it was sorely needed. Will it take time to percolate? Of course it will. There's a lot of youth there. We drafted 2 linebackers. We drafted a linebacker last year. So obviously there's a lot of youth. We brought on Anthony, although we didn't pick up his 5th-year option. So let's see what happens there. So obviously look at all the clout that they've invested in the linebacker core over the past 2 years between the Anthony trade and then 3 draft picks. So this is just another piece of that, another piece of trying to rebuild a position that has just been absolutely ignored, not just under Gase for his first season, but under Philbin completely. I mean, they drafted like 1 linebacker in the 5th round or something from a small-time school. Yep, Tripp from a small-time school. And then they kept on trying to bring in 3 or 4 undrafted free agents and make it work. Absolute morons. Absolute morons. Anyway, we don't want to get into the Philbin days, but those guys are morons. You know what I mean?
Nice to Mike Hall.
to who?
Mike Hall.
Mike Hall. I'm not talking about Mike Hall, man. I'm just saying this is the way we've been trying to fill this position for 4, 5, 6 years with undrafted free agents, hoping that something would work. It was ridiculous. We weren't investing any picks in this. Year after year after year, we were investing no picks into that position. And we wondered why we were one of the worst linebacking cores in the NFL every single freaking year. So we got a lot of youth. There'll be some growing pains, but at least now we have some talent to work with and to grow and to develop and see what happens. And I think Jerome Baker is just another piece of that. And let's just see how that works out. So then I'm going to give one final here. Ballage. Is that how you pronounce his name? Ballage, the running back?
Kalen Ballage. That's what I think it is, so I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that pick?
Think Jay Ajayi, but faster. That's what I've honestly like. I watched the tape on Kalen Ballage, and it's on PhinManiacs.com if anybody wants to check it out. Shameless plug. Oh, what am I talking about? This is PhinManiacs Xtra. What am I talking about?
Yeah, it's not a plug when it's on the same show.
I'm so used to you being elsewhere, and I'm like, I guess it's like, oh wait, no, this is mine.
Yeah.
But it's like, anyway, so I watched Kalen Ballage, and it's kind of funny. I see so many similarities to Jay Ajayi, and Jay Ajayi, I think he would say this. He doesn't have the best vision, correct? Like, he doesn't know how to spot a hole and run through it. He just kind of slams his face into there, and like hopefully there's something there.
I mean, I think Jay Ajayi's big thing was he was really quick, just off the gun, man. It was like he was 100 miles an hour in a second, and man, he was so hard to tackle.
Right. He was a bruiser back. He wasn't gonna run anybody. He wasn't gonna do anything like that. Okay, Ballage. Like, there was people who were saying that he was a soft runner, that he's not as powerful as his frame suggests. But I watched the tape. The kid always runs with forward lean. He's not backing off from anybody. He's able to break tackles. He can also catch in the backfield, which is something that Ajayi struggled with.
Ajayi definitely was never.
Yeah,
he's not a pass catching running back. He's just not that guy. I mean, we tried to force that a bit here and there just so people would know the threat was there and they'd have to defend it, but it was only for the purpose of that. That just isn't his skill set.
It didn't work. That was the thing about it that was worst of all. It didn't work. He can't catch. So, Ajayi is a one-trick pony. He really is. And I know that
he was very, very good at what he does, but very one-dimensional.
It was a very, very fun 2016 to watch.
It was.
That's kind of in the same. It's kind of in the same breed as it was a very, very fun game to watch Noshawn Moreno run roughshod over the New England Patriots that one year.
Yeah.
But that's about it. That's all he was able to contribute. And now Ajayi is a rotational back with the Eagles, and who knows how many snaps he's going to get now? Maybe not many at all.
Yeah, they have a lot of backs there. They have a lot of talent in their backfield.
No doubt. But it's like. For Miami, he was a feature back. In Philly, he's a role player. So, is he really that special? Maybe not. I don't know. It's up to Doug Peterson to figure out now. It's not our problem.
So where do you think Ballage fits in with this rotation? We got Gore, we got Drake. Obviously, he's the number one, and you got Ballage as well. So how do you see this all kind of mixing in?
I know you're not going to like this because we argued over it a few seasons ago, and you're going to hate this, and you're probably going to get mad at me for it. But once again, Adam Gase wants a running back rotation. He doesn't want a number one running back. He doesn't want somebody to just plug in and he's going to get 30 carries a game. He's not somebody who's going to give Drake the ball all the time, going to get 20 carries, and then everybody else kind of gets 5 or 10 tops. It's gonna be Drake, and it's gonna be Gore, and it's gonna be Ballage, and they're all gonna take their turns and get their shots in. And depending on the situation, we might see more of Gore, we might see more of Drake, and Ballage. If I had to make a comparison between Gore and Drake, I would say he's more like Drake, simply because Ballage is faster. He is more of a weapon, more so than a blocker. And so if I had to make a comparison, I would say he's more on the side of Drake than Gore. So that's how I would envision Ballage being used. He's also very good at kick returns, I'm told. So if that's the case, then that means we can take Kenyon Drake off of the special teams run, and we can let Ballage do his thing there.
Well, what I'll say to that is Gase admitted the mistake in his first season of trying to do that rotation where, okay, I'm going to do a drive with this guy, and then a drive with Ajayi, then a drive with that guy.
But here's the thing. Was it a mistake?
He admitted it was a mistake because nobody settled in. No one settled in, and I'm telling you it'll be a mistake this time if he tries it to that extent. However, if you just bring in, if you have Drake as your main back, but you're mixing in Gore and Ballage, that's fine. If he's going to go back to, I'm going to do a series with this guy, I'm going to do a series with this guy, I'm going to do a series with this guy, I'm going to be on this show every week bitching. I'm just telling you that right now because it did not work and it will not work.
I had a feeling you would be, but this is what I would pose to you, Ron. Was it a mistake because of what it was, or was it a mistake because of who he was trying to run it with? Jay Ajayi, Arian Foster, and Damian Williams. I don't think anybody's going to try and argue that rotation was better than what we would have right now.
Yeah, I just think you need to let the most talented guy play most of the snaps. That to me is Drake, number one. Number two, you got to let some people get some rhythm, even at the running back position. You need to let them get some rhythm. That's just my opinion. Now I've seen New England. They don't really do it per drive. Sometimes they do. But then sometimes what it is they get more situational. Okay, we're in the goal line. We're going to bring in this guy, or we're going to bring in these two. I'm down for that. I'm not saying you have to bring in Drake and bring him from beginning to end. I'm down to put it in as situational, but not a running back per drive. That's I'm telling you, that's not going to work. It's a horrible idea, and I hope he's not planning on going back to that. And I'll doubt that he does, because he admitted publicly that was a mistake to do.
Oh, I don't disagree with you, Ron. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to endorse the running back rotational drive thing. I'm just saying that I think the players had more to do with its failure than the scheme itself. That's all.
I don't think that Drake can stand out there and be in 25 to 30 touches. I don't know that he's durable enough for that.
I don't want him to. No,
I don't think so, but I think he'll still be the main back. He'll still be the starter. He'll still going to get the bulk of the carries. Again, Gase isn't going to just throw in a fourth-round running back rookie for a whole bunch of touches. So I think mostly at first you're going to see Drake and Gore and a little bit of Ballage. You may not even see Ballage touch the ball week 1 or 2. I'm telling you, just watch the way it's been the last 2 years with Gase and rookies, especially when we get into third, fourth, and beyond that, rookies. He does not rely heavily on these people. He is very hesitant to do so. He slowly mixes them into the fold. So just keep that in mind. Yes, Fitz will get a lot of play to begin with. Yes, Gesicki will obviously be used a lot. Those are first and second round picks, guys. When we start getting into the Baker, Smythe, Ballage, and beyond, it is not going to be, I'm going to throw these guys out for a bunch of snaps. It's just not going to be the case. So mostly you're going to see Drake, you're going to see Gore in there too, and you're going to start to see Ballage maybe week 3 or 4 mixed into the fold on offense. That is likely how it'll go, because that's been Gase's MO so far with rookies. And I know you disagree, but I'm telling you, man, you're watching.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, Ron. I see the pattern. I just feel like that Gase will put in his best players, not necessarily the players who are less rookie or so.
Well, Drake is his best running back, and to me, it's not even close. Back. Yeah, right. So Drake is gonna see a larger portion of the carries. I just think he'll still try and limit his carries some. And I think it was smart to do so. It was smart to draft Ballage. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this way, if Ballage is really great and Drake gets hurt, we're not like, oh, crap, we're screwed. Because I don't want to rely on Gore to carry the bulk of the carries. I mean, he's really kind of getting up there. I mean, every year we keep waiting for Gore to go away, honestly. I mean, I don't want him to go away. I'm just expecting him to go away.
Okay, but you know what? We keep waiting for Tom Brady to go away, too. Not that that's the same thing.
Oh, man, why you got to bring up that dude on this show?
Okay,
God.
We can't help it at the AFC East, and I'm not even trying, and don't get me wrong, quarterback and running back are two different things. I get that. Before anybody goes in there and say, lose, you're an idiot. No, I know. Running back is not the same thing.
Yeah, running back, the Frank Gore's had 2 lifetimes at running back.
Oh, yeah. Gore is, I think, like, Gore's crazy. You know what? The way he talks, I don't think this is supposedly his quote-unquote last hurrah. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back next year to try it again.
Oh, we'll see, man. We'll see. All right. I had another topic written down here, Tannehill. Guess what? We're skipping over it, because we're already running late on time, and I don't want to talk about Tannehill right now. I love Tannehill, just so everybody knows on the record, if you don't follow me on Twitter.
You don't want to talk about the Dolphins not picking a quarterback?
No, because I'm going to discuss that the next episode. I'm Tannehill, ride or die, so let me just mark it down, stamp it, book it. If that's an issue, time to delete this podcast off of your playlist, if that's going to be a big problem for you.
Oh, come on, don't say that now. Give us a chance first, folks.
No, because they're not going to want to listen to me. I'm telling you, they're not going to want to listen to me if they're a Tanner hater. They're just not.
Okay.
So I just don't stand for that. But anyway, I'm going to let you talk about it, and I'm not going to really discuss it because I'm going to let it lead into the next episode. I'm going to let you talk about the whole Ross draft fiasco crap, the hashtag fake news. Go ahead.
Okay. The whole Stephen Ross thing is ridiculously overblown. Let's assume for a second that Stephen Ross did say that he didn't want Minkah Fitzpatrick. I don't think it was so much that he didn't want Minkah Fitzpatrick. I don't think it was about the player. I think it was look at what he said. He wanted to. The report said that Ross wanted to trade back and get more picks. And also to save money, but that part is garbage and everybody knows it. But he wanted to get more picks. So it wasn't so much about, I don't want Fitzpatrick. It was more about, I want more picks, which isn't a bad opinion to have. Of course you want more picks in the NFL draft. Of course you want a stockpile. That's a normal thing to desire. How many fans do we constantly see on Twitter? We should trade back. We should trade back. We should trade back. Get more picks. Get more picks. Get more picks. It's constant. It's constant. But because Steve Ross says it, it's a dumb idea. Now, it becomes more of a dumb idea because Fitzpatrick was on the board, and I'm not saying that they should have done what Ross wanted. In fact, I think it would have been a very stupid idea if they had decided to trade back instead of drafting Fitzpatrick. Not that that was going to happen, since that was their plan all along. But this is the thing that's getting me upset about this whole scenario. Never mind the fact that it was leaked to begin with, because it was never supposed to go public in the first place. Never mind that it was leaked to a New England Patriots writer in Ben Vollen, who has had it out for the Dolphins since he left South Florida to begin with. Never mind all of that. People are mad at Steve Ross, and they seem to get mad at Steve Ross every other day because he's not a football smart owner. And you know what? No, he's not a football smart owner. In fact, I would go as far as to say that he knows nothing about football.
He's a football dumb owner?
He's a football dumb owner. I'm all due respect to the man. He does great things for the community, and he is one of the and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I think he's one of the best owners the Dolphins have had in a long time in all of its history.
And he's definitely willing to open up his wallet too.
He's
as
definitely
well.
open. He's definitely money is no object.
Which makes the original reporting from Boston Globe about because to save money.
He saved money.
So that was your red flag. To say that this was the most bullcrap I've ever heard. And I understand that Kanata said that this came from an email from Ross to Armando, but originally it came from this reporting from Ben Vollen at Boston Globe. And bottom line, he said it was to save money. Are you freaking kidding me? The dude's spending $22 million on Sue to not even be here. And he isn't about saving money. He's about what's best for the team.
Ron, he wants to build a brand new training camp facility. He's not trying to save money. If anything, he's spending even more. He
spent $450 million just to upgrade the stadium so Super Bowls can come here. I mean, come on, man. That's the most ridiculous. That right there. If you want to really read into what's BS and what's not, to save money. Come on, man. That's so ridiculous.
I don't doubt that he wanted to trade back, Ron. But this is the thing. Here's what gets me mad. People are not mad at Ross People are not mad at Ross necessarily because of his opinion. That's not necessarily what they're mad about. A lot of people that I've seen, they are mad at him for having an opinion to give. He is the owner. Of course he's going to have an opinion. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's true.
Franchises are not ant farms that you just watch and see what happens.
I like that expression, ant farms.
For real, though.
That's a good point,
man. I actually came up with that a little while ago. I was like, I'm going to use that. But that's my point is. My point is, what human being on earth would own an NFL franchise and not want anything to do with it? Are you kidding me?
That's true. I mean, I don't know enough about football to own a football team. That's for sure. As far as making hires and all that, but if I had a football team, man, it would be. I don't know if I could keep my hands off this kind of stuff.
Right?
Man. It's too much fun.
Exactly.
And you want to win.
Ross wants to win too. Ross loves football. He's not very good at it, but he loves it. There's no doubting that for even a second. And so for him to give his opinion privately to his front office, I don't have an issue with that. But if people are mad at him because he even had an opinion, I'm thinking to myself, Ross is not an ATM machine, guys. I know he's where the money comes from, but he's a human being. He wants to be heard. He wants to have his opinion. And guess what? When the time comes to fire guys, who do you go running to do it? The guy you don't want to have an opinion. If he doesn't have an opinion, then he can't have an opinion on whether Tannenbaum should be fired.
It's true. All right, man. Well, I think we're going to conclude it for this episode. We've gone 15 minutes longer than I originally intended, but I think 45 minutes is still a good time for an episode. Yeah. 30 to 45 minutes.
It's a flagship episode, man. So
yeah, there you go. I appreciate you coming on this first one, man. I'm gonna get this show out this weekend. Today's Saturday that we're recording, by the way. Saturday, what's today? 11th, 12th? I don't even know the date.
Yeah, the 12th.
Okay. And so I'm gonna get this show out this weekend. I'm gonna record another and try and get it out right behind there. Get a little content going. PhinManiacs Xtra. You guys will be able to. You'll be able to. You could tell them better than me, Lewis. How are they gonna be able to listen to the show?
Oh, yeah. So PhinManiacs Xtra is going to be available on the YouTube channel, just like PhinManiacs Live. It's also going to be available via SoundCloud, Stitcher, and iTunes. And, I mean, Ron, if you have more platforms that you think it should go on, feel free to tell me because I will make it happen.
Well, once you, I mean, just behind the curtains of podcasting, once you go on pretty much Stitcher and iTunes, and because this is going through an existing feed, it's already happened. Most of the other podcatchers are going to find you. Many of the smaller podcatchers feed off of the larger ones like iTunes, Stitcher, etc. So, I mean, maybe another one to throw on is Podbean, but I mean, there's really one for Apple, and then there's like 100 for Android guys. But a lot of those it'll just pick it up, which it already has because it's going on the same feed. It's not a whole new feed. So if you have PhinManiacs in your phone, then you have PhinManiacs Xtra on your phone.
Alrighty.
So there you go. All right, everybody, appreciate you listening to this inaugural episode of PhinManiacs Xtra. I look forward to doing them. This is going to be a fun platform, probably a lot more like what I used to do with Unsquish the Fish, I think, when I originally busted out trying to figure out this Dolphins podcast thing. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.